Good day, everyone. Welcome to Real Conservative News. I'm your host, Nathaniel Rajkumar. Starting off locally here in Trinidad and Tobago. The People's National Movement is ready to take the government to court if they try to extend the state of emergency again. Prime Minister Kamla Pasabi says Queen Kamla appears to be using the SOE to govern the nation for probably the next 4 years. It's ridiculous what is taking place, people. PNM official Marvin Gonzalez, as we call him, Marvelous Marva, that's the macaroni pie and no macaroni pie and ham man. Nevertheless, what he's saying right now is correct. Announced that a team of lawyers is already prepared to file a legal challenge against the extension, calling it unlawful and unconstitutional, and he's correct. He pointed to a legal case in Jamaica where courts ruled that governments cannot keep using states of emergency to just fight regular crime. The opposition claims the government is using the SOE rules unfairly to stop peaceful protests, silence critics, and restrict regular citizens instead of actually stopping criminals. Once again, whether or not PNM is being hypocritical about it at this point in time, Marvelous Marva and the rest of them are correct in what they are saying. My response: there's need to prevent the government from using an SOE in order to address a long-term issue like crime. So our concern shouldn't only be about the zones where protests are prohibited, because there are individuals online that are saying, let's not really focus on the SOE, but what we should really be speaking out against are the zones where there are restrictions on protests. The reality is, people, two things. The reason why they could be declaring these zones where you cannot protest is because of the SOE. And secondly, we cannot continue to encourage the government to infringe upon the citizens' rights to privacy in their homes, and also people for giving the TTPS powers to detain individuals out here, suspects outside here, without having sufficient evidence. It is wrong what is taking place. It is unconstitutional. And we are seeing now that the TTPS is even detaining individuals who are probably not even actual criminals, but they are just individuals who oppose the government. They are weaponizing the SOE people against we, the people of Trinidad and Tobago. I want to say, we all know that we can't trust the PNM. And I've made it very clear in recent posts that Penny's party will continue to enforce all Queen Kamla's draconian laws and policies if they win the general election in 2030. I honestly believe that, because we saw what PNM did under Emperor Thanos Rowley. Now, give Jackie Jacket. Rowley never used an SOE to fight crime for his entire 2 terms in office. He did use the SOE, and he did lock down the country for over 2 years because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And a lot of people say, well, that was justified. I honestly don't believe so. It destroyed our economy. It should have never been done. It should have never had those lockdowns and stuff like that, anyhow you take it. But to make matters worse, he set the precedent by declaring, it was in 2024, declaring crime a national health issue, a crisis, and also declared an SOE in order to be able to combat crime. He set the precedent for Queen Kamla to continue following. Although it was Queen Kamla, while opposition leader, was advising the government before that to declare an SOE in order to fight crime. We should have seen the red flag since then, people. Because I've made it very clear over and over again that you cannot use an SOE to address an issue like crime. And now we are seeing that the crime issue is only an excuse, It is really to be able to restrict citizens from having the rights to be able to protest against the government. The only time you're supposed to be able to use an SOE or declare an SOE is when there is an actual crisis. What kind of crisis we are talking about here? If there's a natural disaster, a hurricane, a flood, or whatsoever, and there's devastation widespread, you declare an SOE. If there's an insurrection and there's looting and stuff like that in the streets, like back in 1990, you declare an SOE. You cannot go and continue to abuse your authority, suspend these constitutional rights of citizens of privacy in their homes, to be able to address something like crime, because crime will continue to be an issue in Trinidad and Tobago, especially because we have an incompetent, corrupt TTPS with an extremely low detection rate, and we also have an issue of gang culture that is plaguing all communities throughout our country. I went on to say, having said that I don't trust the PNM, we must use them at this point in time in order to prevent Queen Kamala, from transforming our nation into a police state and a dictatorship. Sometimes people have to use wisdom. Sometimes you must even use your own opponents in order to achieve a goal. And that's what we need to do right now. PNM is still a very influential force, an influential group, an influential body in our society. And they also have the funding necessary to take the government to court, and therefore we should use them at this point in time. Former Government Minister Vasant Bharat warned that democracy in Trinidad and Tobago is under threat after the government set up 15 no-protest zones in sensitive, so-called sensitive public areas. Really, it's not really sensitive, it's just areas where UNC protesters used in the past in order to send a strong message to the government. It's strategic areas, significant areas, government office areas. He argued that democracy dies when citizens become too afraid to speak out, and when leaders treat public criticism as a danger instead of a constitutional right. And they are using people like David Welch to instill fear into people. Bharat criticized the ongoing state of emergency, calling it a failed policy that is being used to shrink the space for public disagreement. He noted that rights are usually taken away slowly under the excuse of keeping public order. Exactly. And he urged ordinary citizens to actively stand up and defend their freedoms. Don't listen to David Welch, who's telling everyone to just stay calm and don't worry about anything. Telling you, David Welch, you are a traitor to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago.
Weather forecast for Trinidad and Tobago, Saturday, June 6, 2026. The weather forecast for Trinidad and Tobago on Saturday, June 6, 2026 features partly cloudy to cloudy, hazy, and breezy conditions during the day, with an increased chance of isolated thunderstorms developing overnight. High temperatures are expected to reach 31 degrees Celsius to 32 degrees Celsius in Trinidad and 31 degrees Celsius in Tobago, with nighttime lows dipping to 24 degrees Celsius to 26 degrees Celsius. Marine conditions remain moderate in open waters, with waves measuring 2.0 to 2.5 meters in open waters and remaining below 1.0 meter in sheltered areas. Winds will be breezy with sudden gusts possible in or near heavy showers.
International news now. President Trump scored a major win overnight as the Senate voted to pass his $70 billion ICE and Border Patrol funding package. The funding covers ICE and Border Patrol's budgets for the next 3.5 years. That is wonderful news. Closing the standoff that began during the longest shutdown in U.S. history. That is really good. Senator Lisa Murkowski was the only Republican to vote against the measure, which now heads to the House, where lawmakers will decide whether to send it to President Trump's desk. Let's just hope that nothing ends up stopping it in the House this time around. Get the job done, House Republicans. The mind games continue because Trump is obsessed with making a deal with terrorists. Yes, people, I commend him when he's doing good, like in America. When he's doing utter nonsense in the Middle East, I will continue to criticize him. Senior Iranian official Mohsen Razi said to CNN, Trump must make decisions independently of Israel. It's a terrorist that was talking to CNN. Just listen to what I'm saying here. He said he must give what is the rights of the Iranian people and stop the blockade. Release our frozen assets, the terrorist went on to say. And this can be a new horizon for the future of Iran and America. He wants Trump to end the blockade, and in other words, just leave them alone to do as they please and continue to fund the proxies in the Middle East, the terrorists like Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis. He went on to say Trump must put aside his personal interests and think about the interests of the American people. If Trump has the courage, many issues will be resolved in the future, he went on to say, or he concluded. As you think about it, it's in the American interest to prevent Iran and the Ayatollah terrorists like this man from developing nuclear weapons. But you see, the radical left and the QAnon far right fail to understand that, because all they can think about is how much they despise Israel. They don't understand that Iran continues to declare. These are liars, pathological liars, people. They're saying they want peace with America, but that's a blatant lie. They chant it publicly all the time, death to Israel and America, not just to Israel. So when they are done with Israel, which it will never happen because God, read Ezekiel 38 and you will know what will happen. But if they if they ever attempt to attack Israel with nuclear weapons, they will also do the same to America.
Bible quote of the day. John 15:1-6. I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit he prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Remain in me, as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself, it must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me you can do nothing. If you do not remain in me, you are like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Such branches are picked up, thrown into the fire and burned.
Folks, that brings us to the end of today's news report. Thanks again to everyone who continues to support my content. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stay blessed and stay safe most of all. In Jesus' name.